Welcome to another edition of When Ebenezer Talks. We are grateful tonight that you've gathered with us. We apologize for the slight delay in our starting. I'm grateful tonight to have our guest, the Honorable Samuel H. Cooper Jr., Clerk of Court for Accomack County, Virginia, and the owner of Cooper & Hummels Funeral Company, Incorporated, Accomack. Mr. Cooper, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Let's start by talking about how did you decide to run for Clerk of Court?
Well, thank you, Pastor Bunting, for this opportunity. I think it's a very, very positive thing that you're doing to enlighten the community and to basically celebrate our heritage and Black History Month. Specifically with respect to my seeking the office of Clerk of Court, it came about one morning in 1983 at a breakfast table. There were 5 of us at this table, and Clifton Umbles, who was my mentor, one of my mentors, was looking at the newspaper and looking at the candidates that were seeking this position. J. Fulton Ayers, who had been serving as clerk for 24 years, had decided to retire. And so it opened the field for many people to seek this position, which is a very coveted position. And so Mr. Umbles, in looking at the candidates, asked us, how many or if any of these candidates do you think that would hire minorities? Historically, the office had been a totally white office. And so this was the question that he posed to us that morning. And so after a bit of discussion, he basically said, well, you know, you've got the ideal candidate sitting right here at this table. So each of us looked at one another, and it was relatively funny. I mean, because that's something that no one would have ever envisioned.
Not in 1983.
Not in 1983. And so finally he said, Cooper, you would be the ideal person for this position. And you can imagine 27, 28, well, I was 27 at the time. I would have never envisioned anything of that magnitude. And so he basically reviewed what he felt would be the best strategy in a situation such as this, because he, looking at the candidates, he says, I doubt if any of these candidates would ever back down from their candidacy because, again, it's a very coveted position. Mr. Ayers had held the position for 24 years. And so that's basically how this process started. And again, he kind of laid out some of the strategies that we could use that would probably be have a positive outcome. And as you see, I mean,
the rest is history.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
That's basically how it happened.
Tell us, what does the Clerk of Court do?
The Office of the Clerk of Court is basically the administrative arm of the Circuit Court. The Code of Virginia dictates about 125 duties for the clerk to perform. We have the responsibility for maintaining the records, most of which are maintained permanently. All of our documents are microfilmed and housed in the Library of Virginia for security purposes. We issue marriage license. We monitor all civil, criminal, and probate matters that take place in the county. Now, the probate portion of my duties basically deal with wills, administrations of estates, things of that nature. And the clerk is actually the judge of the probate court. That is to say, you come in, you want to record a will, for whatever reason, we reject it. You have the opportunity to appeal that rejection to the circuit court. You can have a hearing and let the judge decide whether this document is actually suitable to be recorded. But that is just a portion of the things that we do. Now since 1995, well, I won't say that was not the beginning, but in 1995, the law changed for concealed handgun permits. Prior to that, I would imagine there were probably no more than 10 to 15 handgun permits in the county of Accomack. After that, the law changed such that anyone who met the qualifications could apply for one. That takes quite a bit of time. It's a highly laborious process, and that consumes quite a bit of our time. We record deeds, all land records are recorded in that office, and that's just to name. I'm not even scratching the surface on what we do.
How many, and this is not on my list, but it just came to my attention, do your records go all the way back to the colonial days when these towns were first incorporated?
The records in the clerk's office go back to 1663, and that was the time in which the counties divided. Prior to that, you had one actual county, and at that point, Northampton has the oldest records, continuous records in the United States. Accomack has the second oldest. So, and that encompasses a multitude of things that we still actually house in-house.
Okay, okay. What has been the most challenging time during your tenure as clerk? You've held this position since 1984.
84.
And so now it's 2022. What do you think has been the most challenging?
Challenging is probably, it may not be the proper term because I don't have anything that stands out specifically. When I initially went into office, we were recording documents in huge deed books. And that was probably one of the first challenges, is that, it was easy to see that we could not maintain that current practice for more than maybe 5 years, as we would have run out of space. So we sought the assistance from one of the recording companies that help us to downsize our books. We went from books that were like 24 by 18 down to 14 by 10. And it gave us that opportunity to house those books. Then from that point, we went into strictly, we went to microfilming. Well, we were microfilming the whole time, and we still do to this day. But now everything is digitized. All of our, just specifically with land records, all land records are now on the computer. When you come in to record a deed, we scan the document in, and then it goes, it's digitized and put out for public inspection. That's just, a couple of the challenges. There have been many others that have come along, but
I'm sure.
Not insurmountable.
I'm sure. Yeah. Having been the first African-American clerk of court in Accomack County, Virginia, in its history, who do you credit your success? When you think about your success, when you think about your longevity, who comes to mind? Besides God, of course, who comes to mind?
That was the first, that's the one at the top of the list. Because, without him, none of this would have happened. I'd say secondly would be my parents, because of the values that they taught me. Unlike many other people, I had two sets of parents. I had, my natural parents, and then I had Marie and Cliff Humbles. And they helped to guide me and to, basically direct me through life and to really inspire me to do many, many things. I would undoubtedly say one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was in 1979 when I went to work at Holly Farms. The exposure that I got to many people who have now become longtime friends has proven invaluable, even in the funeral business. Because these are people who otherwise I probably would have never met in life. But I'd have to say, that I just had good, as the old folks say, good upbringing.
Good upbringing.
Now, I didn't always follow what they told me.
I don't think any of us
I didn't do that. But anyway, I think for the most part, you know how the Bible says, raise a child in the way it should go?
Yeah.
And I've departed a few times.
He's also a Sunday school teacher as well.
I've departed a few times in life, but the thing of it is I was taught core values.
Okay.
So it's very important.
Okay. And you speak of the funeral home. I want to talk about the funeral home because you've been able to balance clerk of court and funeral home. You started hanging out there at an early age. What inspired you to want to go into mortuary science?
Well, as you said, I started there when I was about 9 years old.
Wow.
And I just hung around, did odd things, washed cars. Golly, I can't remember. How can I forget putting down mulch? And things of that nature. As time progressed, I took on, more responsibilities and basically developed, a love for the profession. And I can remember Mr. Almost, I remember mentioning to him when I was probably 15, 16, that this was the profession that I thought I wanted to pursue. And he says, well, you've got to understand this is a very, very confining profession. You don't always have time for family and things of that nature because of the nature of the business. But you know how you tell your daughter, I really don't want you to see this boy for whatever reason. And the more you tell her, the closer she gets to him.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the case then. And again, I developed a love for it. Ultimately, I developed a passion. And to this day, that passion has not waned. I still love it. I love the service end of it, the people that we associate with, and those who have given us the opportunity to be with them during those very, very trying times. Death, even on the occasions where people are ill and you know that ultimately they're going to die, there's still a need for someone to be there to comfort them and to make them laugh. In a time of sorrow, to give them something to look forward to. And I still have that passion.
Well, we put the fun in funeral.
Yes, definitely.
Being in the business so many years, how have you seen it change over time?
The funeral business?
Yes.
Technologically, it has changed considerably. There are some basic things that have changed little or none at all. But with offerings, those things that we are able to offer to our families now, the services, COVID really made us have to be creative. When churches, and still many churches are not having services, we had to be able to provide a service, and for people who were not able to attend funeral services for whatever reason. And so webcasting has really proven very well. Many people have commented that they like the ability to sit right at home and watch a funeral service. Things of that nature. And again, so many different memorial offerings are now available that were not 25 or 30 years ago. Your internet, your web pages and things like that. Many people rely on them. They'll call you, oh, Sam, I see, man, y'all got a whole lot of them this weekend. I've been to your website. And things like that have really changed the tenor of the profession. And one other thing, during this COVID season, I think many people are learning that we don't necessarily have to have the 2-3 hour funeral services to give mama or grandmama a very decent funeral service and one that is very befitting, our loved ones. It doesn't have to be long. It's just like that which you do can be very, very powerful, and it doesn't have to be extended.
Extended out.
Yes, it does.
Same challenge, same question about challenge. What has been the biggest challenge in the funeral business?
I'd have to say one challenging aspect of it is to be able to continually provide that which your families need. Quite often, and I say this, it may sound a bit humorous, but I don't mean it in that way, but a lot of times people don't know what they need during that period of time. Personally speaking, I can remember I had a child die in 1979. And even though I had experience with death, when you're on the other side of the desk, it's a totally different ball game. And that's probably been one of the biggest challenges, is that, you have to constantly be innovative. What works for one doesn't always work for the other. And trying to get that happy median whereby you're going to give people the best no matter what it takes.
And some of the families you've served in so many years, some of them you automatically know how to deal with them, how to handle them, how to navigate them, and how to work with them to keep peace.
Yeah. And basically, I inherited a business. And I inherited friendships that, through Mr. Almost, I had to, I developed them too with those same people. For instance, there are certain families that come in when they make their arrangements. You don't even have to discuss finances. It's not even to be discussed. You know that these people are honorable, that now through the years, they have proven themselves. Hey, we don't even have to talk about money. We know that these people are going to do as they should do.
Speaking of Mr. Humbles, what do you think he would say today? Having started out in that white cinder block building with the black shutters, and to see how it has grown.
He would definitely be extremely proud. His motto, he used to say to us all of the time, fellas, I'm helping to build a business now. It's up to you what you want to do with it. It's here for you. You can make it grow, or you can let it go. But he would be extremely proud, and for those who may have known him personally, and he was a great conversationalist. And you know that.
Yes.
Because he and your father
were very good friends.
Were very good friends.
I drunk a many soda and ate a many pancake that Bunting boy fixed while they were in the other office
While they're in the other office talking.
That's right. That's right.
And he would be very proud, and he was not a boastful person, but he was one that would point out some of the things offerings that we had that others didn't. And undoubtedly, he would be very, very proud of the success that we've had over the years and how the business has grown down through time.
And continues to grow.
And continues to grow.
Continues to grow.
Yes.
Last question, and I think this will help a lot of young people that may be watching or will watch. If a young person comes to you and says, Mr. Cooper, you have proven successful, I want to be like you, what advice do you give them?
The first thing I would give any young person, the advice is to get a good education. Fortunately, the funeral profession was something that I always wanted, but because I had prepared myself and allowed others to prepare me, I've been fortunate enough to be in the clerk's office for 39 years now. But the thing of it is, we have to, as people, but looking at young people specifically, is to learn to respect yourself first. You have to have respect that will transcend to other people. And what will happen is, if you respect yourself, you're going to respect others. And that has a lot to do with your success. How do you define success? Success is not always defined by dollars and cents. It's when other people respect you. That is success. When you will go out of your way to help others, that's a part of making you a very, very successful person. When you feel good about what you've done and how you've treated someone, that helps in building the success that you feel within yourself. It's not always measured by your cars, your house. While those things are nice, those are material things. And I can remember I bought a vehicle back in 1985. It was an 83 Fifth Avenue.
I remember that car.
You remember that car? Okay. And I made the comment to a friend of mine one day, and I will give you his initials, Bishop David Sabatino. And I made the comment, we had to go to a house that was back a long dirt road. And I said to him, God, I hate to drive my car back this long dirt road. He said, Sam, look at it this way. There are two ways that car can get dirty. It can get dirty working and making money, or it can get dusty and dirty sitting in the garage. Which would you choose? And it was at that point, and I have never forgotten that, is that you have to learn not to covet material things. One of the things that we used to discuss in Sunday school years ago is talking about coveting material things. And one of our senior members at the time was Mr. Sam Seymour. And I would say to Mr. Seymour, I said, Mr. Seymour, what's the first car you had? I had a 29 Chevrolet, something of that nature. I said, Mr. Seymour, where's that vehicle now? He says, I have no idea. My point was, material things come and go. I mean, if you have an accident with a car, you get another one. But when you talk in terms of developing lifelong friendships and earning the respect in the community, that's something that you cherish. You cherish, you don't want to let it go, and you want to work hard to maintain relationships like that.
Thank you so much tonight for being with us, for being the concluding interview for our Black History. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you realize it or not, but this is Black History in living color. Mr. Cooper will go down in history, in our history books for decades to come in this county and even in this state as the first African-American clerk of court. Thank you once again for being with us. God bless you, and we thank God for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much tonight for being with us. We hope and pray that you have enjoyed this episode of When Ebenezer Talks. We will be coming back again in the month of March doing another episode on a different topic. We hope you have a wonderful evening. God bless you and good night.